Namo Amida Butsu, Viruses of the Body and the Mind by Gansen John Welch. Viruses of the body can kill this ephemeral physical entity, but viruses of the mind are far more dangerous and deadly, as they can cause future rebirths in lower realms and states, if we are infected with viruses of folly, ignorance, greed, hate, and other blind passions that ensnare and enslave us in endless suffering from cradle to the grave. We sow negative karmic seeds that create causes and conditions for ceaseless wars of attrition between our evil and good karma that can never end for unenlightened beings who are incapable of seeing, hearing, and understanding the truth taught by Amida Dharma Masters, that only the primal vow of Amida Tathagata can free all suffering sentient beings from samsara. If all Buddhas praise Amida Buddha, then each and every day we should think and say, with an attitude of humility, sincere appreciation, and great gratitude, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you, Amida Buddha. Homage to Amida Buddha. I take refuge in Amida Buddha. The above verses were inspired by the following passages from pages 104 to 109 of Reverend Josho Adrian Cirlea's very important and excellent book, Commentary on the Sutra on the Buddha of Infinite Life. 2. Vows related to the salvation of all sentient beings. The vow of complete reliance on the power of Amida. Explanation of the 18th vow or the primal vow. Quote, if, when I attain Buddhahood, sentient beings of the 10 quarters who sincerely entrust themselves to me desire to be born in my land and say my name perhaps even 10 times, should not be born there, may I not attain the supreme enlightenment. Excluded are those who commit the 5 grave offences and those who slander the right Dharma. End quote. 18th vow. As you can see, the primal vow contains 2 sentences, one explaining the way to be born in his pure land for all beings, and the other showing a so-called exclusion or exception from birth aimed at a category of people. Also, there are various important elements in both parts which will be explained separately in this chapter. 1. The meaning of sentient beings of the 10 quarters. 2. The meaning of sincerely entrust themselves to me, desire to be born in my land, and say my name perhaps even 10 times. 3. The so-called exclusion in the primal vow. Excluded are those who commit the 5 grave offences and those who slander the right Dharma. 4. Summary of the primal vow. By being in accord with the primal vow, one is born in the fulfilled land of the Pure Land, or the centre of the Pure Land, where he immediately becomes a Buddha. This kind of birth is called birth by transformation, and I will explain it in more detail when I reach sections 43 to 45 of this sutra. According to Shinran, the passage showing the fulfillment of the 18th vow is in section 22 of the sutra. Quote, all sentient beings who, having heard his name, rejoice in faith, think of him even once, and sincerely transfer the merit of virtuous practices to that land, aspiring to be born there, will attain birth and dwell in the stage of non-retrogression. But excluded are those who have committed the 5 grave offences and abused the right Dharma. It will be explained in full detail when I reach that section and the 11th vow. But generally speaking, it should be read as follows. Beings who entrust to Amida, say his name in faith, and wish to be born in his land, will receive Amida's transference of merits that he acquired after eons of virtuous practices, and will be established in the stage of non-retrogression for birth in the Pure Land. We will see in the following pages what the exclusion really means. The meaning of sentient beings of the 10 quarters. This shows that the promise of Amida Buddha is addressed to all beings, without any discrimination or distinction between them. All are the object of Amida's primal vow, no matter how high or low they are on the scale of spiritual evolution, and especially if they are the lowest of the low. Quote, know that the primal vow of Amida makes no distinction between people young and old, good and evil. Only shinjin or faith is essential, for it is a vow to save the person whose karmic evil is deep and grave, and whose blind passions abound. End quote. Quote, The power of the vows without limit. Thus, even our karmic evil, deep and heavy, is not oppressive. The Buddha's wisdom is without bounds. Thus, even those of distracted minds and self-indulgence are not abandoned. End quote. Quote, the heinous will be saved, and the venal embraced by Amida Buddha. The bad will be saved, and the good embraced. Those who live far will be saved, and those who live near embraced. Those who live long after Buddha Shakyamuni's entrance into parinirvana will be saved, and those who live shortly after embraced. The profundity and extensiveness of the great compassionate primal vow are beyond verbal description. Believe in it in the depth of your heart and validate the truth within yourself. End quote. Quote, sentient beings of the 10 quarters, end quote, also means that the primal vow was made not only for humans but for non-human beings too, like spirits, gods, etc. As we know very well, when Shakyamuni Buddha delivered his sutras, many non-human beings were present in the assembly, and it is also known that he went to teach the Dharma to God's realms too. Shinran Shonen also mentioned that beings in all forms of existence can hear, whatever hearing may mean in various realms, Amida's message of salvation, and if they become open, entrust to him. Quote, when sentient beings in the various forms of existence throughout the 10 quarters, on hearing Amida's name of transcendent virtues, come to attain true and real shinjin or faith, they greatly rejoice at what they have heard. End quote. Beings born in the Pure Land in the past, present, and future are not solely from this world. They come from Buddha lands throughout the 10 quarters and are countless, innumerable, beyond calculation. End quote. Namo Amida Butsu.